was a small business owner. I had a handful of employees that worked for me, and I had a cleaning company, and I had two major accounts. And after 10 good years of working with them, they decided they were going to save some money, and so they said, "Goodbye, Jeff." And after 10 years, I had no money coming in, and I didn't know what I was going to do. And I was so, just in a state of, illusion, like, what do I do? Where do I go from here? I had looked at network marketing, and I was very impressed with it, met and have known some people who've made some very serious money with it. And I decided that was the only way I was ever going to get back on my feet financially. And I went looking for a company, and I heard about David and Bianca Lisenby, and I decided, after looking at their products, this was the company for me. The only challenge was, at that time, I didn't have any money to get started. And so I sat on my porch one day thinking, how will I ever get started and get going? And I looked out in my driveway at the only thing that was left from my bankrupt business, and it was a junk truck. The tire was flat and it didn't start, and I thought, this is what I'll do. I will sell that junk truck. I called the junkyard. The man came out and gave me $400. I put $200 into my business. The other $200 I bought groceries. It was nice to have a little food lately. And that was how I got started. The only challenge was I couldn't even afford a phone bill. And I remember my sponsor was gracious enough to give me a cell phone. The only challenge was, where I lived, there wasn't any reception, so I had to drive up in the farm country and make calls. I would drive out there and open up a cattle gate, pull into the field, cows, manure all around everywhere, close the cattle gate, get my notes out on the hood, start making phone calls and calling people, and had to watch where I step when I talk, because I like to walk when I talk. And those were hard times. I remember I was behind on my car payment 3 months, and even my electricity bill I had not paid that month. And I remember one morning a man knocked at the door, and I opened the door, and he says, "Sir, I'm here for the money for the electricity." And I said, "Oh yeah, sorry. It's out in my car. Why don't we walk out and I'll write you a check." And we walked out there, and in my driveway there was no car. The bank had come and got it. And of course he turned off my electricity, and there was an old friend of mine, 80-year-old man, a good friend of mine, who was gracious enough to give me an old junky car to drive and some money to get my electricity turned on. And finally, of course, when I drove the car to meet people, talk about For Life, I always wanted to park it 2 or 3 blocks down from wherever the appointment was, because I was definitely not an example of success. Those are hard times. I remember on Sundays, that was what I called Dream Day, and I would go into the neighborhood where the rich people live. And I'd walk around and look at these beautiful old historic houses and manicured lawns. And that was the time I used to think and dream of what my life would be like. And I didn't have a pot to pee in at the time. Most people think that's crazy. It's just wasting my time dreaming. But I had a lot of passion for the business, and I wanted to be successful. The truth is, within 18 months, I moved into one of those homes. And what I tell people is, when I say this story, is not to impress them, but to impress upon them that anything can happen if your heart's behind it, if you really have passion, if you have a true cause and reason to succeed. You can succeed. Choosing the right company is important. And I felt like I made the right choice with what David and Bianca Lisenby were doing and their vision in taking Transfer Factor around the world. It was the best choice for me. Since I've gotten involved in For Life, a lot has changed. Obviously, the money changed. And it's funny how life is. I mean, we all need money. And what attracts us to network marketing certainly is the money. But those aren't the most important things. And it's those other things that we really want and we go after, and we use For Life as a vehicle to go after those things and achieve those things. And sometimes we don't always know what they are at the time. because we're taking care of the immediate needs in the beginning, which is, increasing our business, increasing our checks, increasing our money. The Life Rewards Plan offers us unlimited potential. But one of the things that I was able to do was to see the world. And when 4Life started expanding overseas, I was able to travel overseas. First country being Korea, and I traveled all over South Korea, all over the peninsula, doing meetings, working with the leaders. And then it was the Philippines, then Singapore and Malaysia, and I went through even China, and recently India. To be with the leaders and watch the sunrise over the Taj Mahal at 5 o'clock in the morning was interesting. But being in Taiwan, when I worked 4Life in Taiwan, I was able to meet Michelle, and that really changed my life. And it was a great blessing, because one of the greatest passions I really wanted to get around to was family life and have a family life. And when I was overseas, I was single, and I was just out working mostly with men, and Asians are workaholics. But it was really nice to be able to see the harvest, to reap the rewards. That's not so much financial as it is emotional and intellectual needs that we all have as humans. And now we recently had a baby, Arthur, and he's now 8 months. He's a great joy to our life. I mean, every morning I wake up, I run downstairs just to see his smiling face. It brings great delight to me. And those are the things now that I really enjoy. Is the most important things is the family life that I enjoy with our children and our other son, Alexander. He's 8 years old. And it's a wonderful thing to be a father again and be involved with children and be involved with their lives and to help them reach their potential. There's not a greater thing a person can live for is being a parent.
My dream actually very simple, just spend the time with my children, with my lovely husband, and all my family, sure. So now all the dream became true now, because I can be a full-time mother, taking care of my children, and spend a single time with my husband. Sometimes we can have a romantic things happen in our life. It's so amazing because 4Life gives us.
I'm a songwriter, but Michelle does, she plays piano and she does jazz and all. We're totally different on the music end. I love jazz. I really love jazz, but I don't try to play jazz. That's not my style of music. But it's her style of music, and she's very good at it.
But remember we cooperated once time in Thailand.
Yeah, that's right. We walked into a music store in Thailand, and I started playing the drums, and she started playing piano, and there were some other musicians in there. We don't even know who they were. They all started playing with us, and people were gathering around while we were playing, some instrumental music. It was interesting, and all the leaders were looking at us like, whoa. That was fun.
I'm so honored we have a chance to help support the poor people or like a orphanage who has no parents. When I have a children, I just think they are so blessing because they have parents like us. But look at the orphanage there. It's very grateful we have a chance to help them. Not only just give money, because I always like to support the children who have no parents, but it's a very big blessing what we have now. So we have this kind of opportunity to go there to help them and to send our heart, just get our supporting.
The one thing I love about life since 4Life is the time freedom. Time freedom to me is more important than money. You look at doctors, lawyers, people with careers, they might be making great money in what they do, in the fields that they're in, but they don't have a family life. They don't have any time freedom. They don't have time for themselves. What good is it? What good is all that money? And the one thing about 4Life is it will reward you for working hard. And in the beginning, that's money. Later on, that's what we call time freedom. I started with this company 11 years ago. And so today that has continued to build and compound to a point where I have a global organization. So it's given me the time freedom now to be able to pursue other things other than 4Life, and the most important other thing is my family life. Second to that, I love being a songwriter and working with musicians and going into a studio and recording and working on song projects. I'm always involved in that. And that's just one of those things that I always put off throughout my whole life, and I always wanted to get back to was my music. And now that I have the time to do it, it's a wonderful thing to do. Talk about science, success, and service. Certainly science is important, and I praise Cal McCausland for everything he's done and his team. And that's very important because that's what creates our residual business. In network marketing, residual business is critical. Otherwise, how are you ever going to have financial independence? When we look at the success, and there are many that are involved in 4Life and a part of my team that are all financially independent. And I'm happy of that because it's simply proof positive that what we have is working. Our products work, but our Life Rewards plan works, but also our management team at 4Life Research is by far the best out there in the network marketing industry. And that's very important because if you have the right management team, they're going to keep the company healthy, working, expanding our international markets. They're doing their best at supporting us. When we talk about service, 4Life supports, and the leaders do so many great causes out there, like Casa Rosada, the HIV orphanage, even in Africa, we've supported that. There's so many great causes, and the beauty of this business is when you have money, you can support people in need. That's why being needy is not a good thing. That's why I encourage all people to get involved with 4Life, either part-time or full-time, because when you have an abundance, you can give. And how important that is, be able to share the wealth, share and support people who cannot help themselves.